Hello, my name is Donald, K6RV, and I'm here with my cameraman and director and editor, Tom N5TW, who's behind the camera. And we're here to show you the Williamson County Amateur Radio Club project, which is a power pole box. And I'll show you what the box looks like. This is the end result. This is the power pole box that we are going to be selling in kit form. And you can buy this kit for $15. Okay, this is the kit. This is how you'll get the kit. And I'm going to open it up here and lay the parts on the table. Okay, this is the box. And inside the box are 4 screws. And you take the top off the box and that gets thrown away. And the top will be replaced by this plate. And by the way, my partner in this project is Jerry, KD5JZH. And Jerry has done a lot of the work in terms of, for example, this is the board, and he's done all the work in terms of drilling the holes, separating the board, and so forth. So, Jerry, you're the man. So this is the board, the printed circuit board, and it's got split, so it's plus and minus. We'll talk about that later. This is the cord, the input cord, and there's a plug, a fuse plug, and the fuse and the pieces to go in that. Alright, in this bag will be the power poles, the pins for the power poles, and a wire.
Okay.
You take the wire and you strip it. There's the wire stripped. And now you cut this wire into 3/4 inch pieces. 3/4 inch pieces. And you do that, you just cut them 3/4 inch, and you need 10 of them, because there are 5 power poles, and 2 of them are going to go in each power pole. My friend Jerry made this up. If you build a number of these, like some people are going to build 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever they're going to build, and then sell them, you might want to make a block up like this. And what Jerry has done on this block is he's drilled holes 3/4 of an inch that will hold this wire. So you just take the wire, you stick it in there like that, make sure it's down, bink, clip it off, and you do that 5 times, and you've got your 5, and you do the 10 times, and you've got them for all 5 power poles. You'll end up with 10 of these 3/4 inch wires. And you take those and you put them on the connectors, 1 in each connector, and you should have 10 of the connectors in there. And then you crimp them, and if you don't have this crimping tool, which is really nice, if you don't have this crimping tool, you do it however you can, and you crimp it. And then my recommendation is, some people believe that you should crimp them and not solder them. Other people say you should crimp them and solder them. Well, I'm of the and solder end. And Jerry has another neat thing in this little block, but again, you don't have to make the block, where you just stick the wire in, and it sticks up like that. You can stick all 5 of them in there, and then come along and solder them.
Yeah.
And when you solder, you want to be sure that you don't get too much solder on this pin, otherwise it won't go in the power pole. You'll have to file it.
Yes.
So you want to just get a little solder right here. And if you do that, you heat it up, just put a little solder right there, that'll do it. Once you've got the 3/4 inch wire and you've soldered it, now you put them in the power poles. And you put them in, just shove them in, and they click. You'll know that they're in. And when you get the power poles together with the pins in, that's what they look like.
Okay.
There's the soldered and crimped pin, wire in the pin in the power pole. Now, one thing about the power poles. you want to make sure that they're put together the right way. And the right way is if you set it down on the table or on your table, it should look like that.
So
meaning the red is on the left,
and the tongues inside are facing down.
and the tongues inside are facing down.
Yeah.
So the red's on the left, tongues inside are facing down. You'll see that the little hole is there from the that put the pin in.
So now
so what you do
you're gonna lock it in
is
place.
you lock them in place with this wire, and by doing that, they won't be flopping around on you like these were. Okay, now see what I've done is I've put the power poles in here like that, put them through, and I've locked them in with the wire.
Yes.
And by doing that, then your job is done, basically. What you do then is cut this wire off, and now you've got the power poles in there. They're locked in. They're not going anywhere. Now the fun comes to get the board on, but that's going to be easy. It's just a matter of moving the wires around.
And is that the side? That's the solder side, right?
Yeah, I want it this way. You want it so that the solder side comes out on the bottom. And I've got this away from that's the way I want it. Okay, so then you put this on, and now it's all together.
Yes.
And now all you have to do is solder these, and you want to make sure that you can put this down on the table, and when you're soldering, put it down on something hard, and when you're soldering, you want to make sure that they stay down. But you don't have to worry then about the power poles moving around or anything. And so you do that, and this is the hardest part. And once you get this done, now you do the solder, and again, either go over this with alcohol before you put them on the wires, or use some flux. And you solder them, and what you'll end up with is this. Now here's one that's all done and soldered.
Beautiful.
One of the little bags that you get is going to have an LED and a resistor in it. So you take out the LED and the resistor. That's the resistor, 100 ohm resistor. And there's the LED. If you straighten out the leads, you'll see that one lead is slightly longer than the other. The longest lead on the LED will be the anode, and that goes to the positive on the board. And on the positive on the board, you can tell is the one that's the red side. So the LED gets pushed into the hole. I put a drop of glue on the LED once it's in there, and you got it soldered to make sure it stays in there. The hole is made so that it'll just go through. So you put the LED in there, you put the long side, which is the anode, on the plus side, which is the red side, and then you put the resistor in series with the cathode side, obviously solder them, and then the other end of the resistor goes to the negative hole on the board. You're done. The only other thing that you need to do is put together the inline fuse, but in the bag that you get, you'll have the wire, which is a foot-long wire. You'll have the fuse holder and the fuse, and a couple of pins for the wire in the fuse, and then there's also power pole connector for the input. So what you do is you take this wire, and in the middle you split it, open it up, and then you cut the wire in the very center. So in this bag you'll get the fuse, the actual fuse holder, and 2 pins. And the 2 pins, look, they're exactly the same. And you say, well, wait a minute, I have the wrong pins. But they just go in opposite. So you take one of the pins and put it in like that, and I'll hold this up in a second. And you take the other side and turn it over and put it in like that. So what you end up with is the two pins in there, you see that?
Yeah.
The two pins in there like that, and notice they're just the reverse of each other, but the fuse now will plug into that and it's no problem. And then you've already got this opened up, and you need to take a little bit out of this, a little piece out of this, and I'll show you. If you take this and hold it there, you'll see that you need to take out maybe an eighth of an inch. So you're going to cut about an eighth of an inch out of the center of this, like that. So I'm going like this. And I'm going like this. I'm going to take about an eighth of an inch out. I'm cutting an eighth of an inch off. And now you strip these two ends, and then they'll fit right in there, and you just crimp them. You crimp them and solder them in, like that. And maybe I need to take a little bit more out. I'm going to do that. So you end up with a wire like that, and that'll fit right in there, and you put this pin and solder that and crimp it and solder it there, and then the other pin you crimp and solder on the other side, like that, like like that, and there's the fuse holder, and you just lay the two wires are connected, you lay them in there, close up the fuse holder, and you're ready to go. So that's the second hardest thing to do on this. One is getting the power poles all aligned right, and then this is the second thing. And once you've done that, then you put a power pole connector on one end. This solders onto the two big holes here. Obviously, mind the polarity. The red obviously goes to the red. Mind the polarity, and then you're done. Okay, once you have the unit all done with the board soldered and the LED soldered in, the last thing you need to do is get the wire, which will have the fuse on it, into the box. Okay, so the other way you can do it, other than drilling holes, you can drill holes in the box and then file them. The problem with drilling the holes is you got to be really careful, because this box tends to crack and break. So you got to start with a small hole, then go to a bigger hole, and so on. The other way that I found that makes it that you can do it easily is, you probably don't want to do this in the house. We're out in Tom's garage right now, so the stink and the smell when you go through this box with the plastic burning is not going to stink up your house and maybe make the XYL a little unhappy. So the way to do this is you have a solder gun, turn the solder gun on, let it heat up, and it's just like cutting through butter. And what I'm going to try to do is put it in the center and up a little bit, because we want to come in to these two holes from the bottom. You know, we want to come in like that and then solder them in. So here I go. And that's through. And now I'll do one more. And now I'll make it, open it up, and there it is. And the smell goes away. I tried not to inhale it. Hold your breath. Okay, so now we've got a hole there. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Anyway, what you want to do is clean that up with a file or a knife or something, and make sure that it's just big enough for the wire to go through like that. And then the wire goes through like that. You strip these wires, you solder them on here, and you're done. And then the box goes together, and you're ready to go. And you've put the, and now of course you got to put the power poles on this end, and the fuse you put in. But again, you obviously can't solder to this board until you go through the box, into the box. So you make the hole, go into the box, and solder, and you're done. So here's the completed box. I hope you enjoy building the kit. I think we should all get friendly with power poles because they're the wave of the future. They're coming on the power supplies, on our new radios, and so on. So enjoy the kit, and if you have any questions, any problems, if you're missing parts, whatever, contact somebody in the club, go on the reflector, and we'll answer it and take care of it. Thanks, and 73 from Donald K6RV and Tom N5TW.